Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're trying to cut through the absolute noise of modern marketing and figure out how predictable, scalable business growth is actually engineered, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're diving deep into the client success playbook for the PPS demand growth system. And let me tell you, this isn't just another list of random marketing hacks. It's a full-on blueprint for taking all those disjointed marketing activities and turning them into a highly calibrated operating system. So let's just jump right in and decode how top-tier B2C companies are actually scaling.
Let's kick things off with a question that, honestly, has probably frustrated every single business leader at some point. Why do your social media likes rarely translate into actual sales, right? We've all seen it happen. A post goes viral, the marketing team is high-fiving in the Slack channel, but then you check your Stripe dashboard, and it's crickets, complete silence. It's the classic trap of vanity metrics. Spending money to get eyeballs is easy, but actually capturing that attention and converting it into cold, hard revenue, well, that requires a totally different approach.
So, let's contrast the old way of doing things with the new paradigm. Traditional marketing? It's kind of like a fragmented factory. You're running isolated campaigns, obsessing over reach and engagement, and basically treating marketing like a simple content output machine. It burns through cash, and worse, it gives you almost zero transparency. But the demand growth system, this is a total paradigm shift. We're talking about replacing those fragmented, disconnected efforts with fully integrated funnels, throwing out vanity metrics and focusing entirely on commercial KPIs, like your cost of acquisition and lifetime value. It literally turns marketing from a creative guessing game into a predictable growth engine.
To map out this transition, here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover 1. The disjointed marketing problem, 2. The BACR growth system, 3. The 3-stage roadmap, 4. Measuring real KPIs, and finally, 5. Shared responsibilities.
All right, let's get right into section 1, the disjointed marketing problem.
Here's the crucial thing to understand. Companies usually don't fail to grow because they aren't running enough ads or posting enough content. They fail because those pieces simply aren't talking to each other. You get blind ad spending, where literally nobody knows which specific campaign actually drove that sale. Sound familiar? Or you have broken tracking mechanisms, which means the second a user clicks your ad, the data is just lost into the void. Or maybe it's a poor checkout experience. The customer wants to buy, but a clunky landing page completely scares them off. Ultimately, the whole customer journey is just being ignored. And without a fully linked operational funnel, capturing true market demand is basically impossible.
Which brings us to section 2, the BACR growth system.
To fix this disjointed marketing nightmare, PPS developed what they call the BACR framework. It's a really fascinating step-by-step system that links up every single touchpoint of the customer's journey. It stands for build, attract, convert, and retain. Basically, it's designed to take a business from setting up a rock-solid technical base all the way through to generating long-term, repeatable customer loyalty. Let's break each of these 4 pillars down.
Step 1 is build, and this phase introduces a massive golden rule for growth. Never, ever launch a campaign on a broken foundation. The playbook actually carves out a solid 4 to 6 week phase just for foundation building. Before a single dollar is spent on scalable ads, they run a deep growth audit. They set up the tracking pixels, get the CRM configured, map out the customer journey, and make sure all the technical plumbing is completely flawless. Because think about it, if you don't build the tracks, you can't run the train.
Okay, so once that foundation is rock solid, we move to step 2, attract. Now, this isn't just about slapping an ad up on Meta and hoping for the best. It's about building a multi-layer funnel that captures real demand across multiple platforms. Meta, Google, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it. And it relies on this really powerful tri-content strategy. They use UGC, which is user-generated content, EGC, expert-generated content, and AGC, agency-generated content. Mixing all 3 creates this deeply authentic, varied net that draws in super high-quality, high-intent prospects.
But here's the catch. Attracting all those eyeballs means absolutely zero if you can't actually close the deal. And that is step 3, convert. This is where the magic really happens. This entire phase is dedicated to conversion rate optimization. That means obsessively fine-tuning every single touchpoint, right from the moment that ad is clicked to the landing page experience, the booking form, or even a WhatsApp chat. If a user is dropping off at the checkout, the system flags it and fixes it, turning all that raw interest into actual measurable sales.
And finally, we hit the last step of the framework, which honestly is so often the most neglected, retain. I mean, think about your own business right now. Retaining an existing client is literally 7 times cheaper than acquiring a brand new one. 7 times. That is a massive profitability lever. So the retain phase builds out automated email sequences, WhatsApp follow-ups, and loyalty programs. The goal is simple but incredibly powerful. Skyrocket the customer lifetime value, or LTV, and turn those one-time buyers into loyal, repeat customers.
Moving right along to Section 3, the 3-stage roadmap.
Now, real growth takes immense patience and testing. You really have to abandon that short-sighted, let's run a 1-month campaign mindset. The roadmap here is completely transparent. It kicks off with that 4 to 6 week audit and build phase we were just talking about. Once that foundation is locked in, you jump into the critical 90-day growth sprint. And then, once your assumptions are actually proven out in the market, the business shifts into 6 to 12 months of monthly growth management, where everything is just dialed in and scaled up.
Let's zoom in on that pivotal 90-day sprint for a second, because this is exactly where theory meets reality. In month 1, it is all about launch and market testing. You're testing the messaging, the channels, the offers. Then in month 2, you shift into optimization and controlled scaling. You relentlessly cut the ads that aren't working, and you incrementally push more budget into the winning creatives. By month 3, you hit stabilization and growth decision. You stabilize the top-performing channels and use hard data to map out your long-term strategy.
That brings us to Section 4, measuring real KPIs.
If you're building a growth engine, you have to actually measure the fuel correctly, right? And notice how these metrics have to adapt entirely to your specific business model. If you're an e-commerce brand, your absolute lifeblood metrics are ROAS, that's return on ad spend, your CAC, or customer acquisition cost, your average order value, and your overall conversion rate. But if you run a service or lead-based business, like a clinic or a consulting firm, you're looking at a completely different set of numbers. You need to be tracking your cost per lead, booking rate, show-up rate, and your lead-to-sale conversion percentage. By tracking these highly specific commercial metrics, business leaders know exactly what is driving their profitability.
There's a quote from the playbook that summarizes this perfectly. It says, "Reach and engagement are supporting metrics, not the final goal. The real goal is measuring demand, sales, bookings, and LTV." This just drives home such a profound truth. If a metric doesn't ultimately impact your bottom line, it's just noise. True business partnerships track real revenue, not just the illusion of popularity on social media.
And finally, Section 5, shared responsibilities. Here's the deal. A true marketing operating system requires a deep operational commitment from both sides. It's a partnership, not a magic wand. On one side, the agency, PPS in this case, takes full responsibility for the strategy. They're building the funnels, setting up the complex tracking, and optimizing the ads. But on the flip side, the client absolutely must take ownership of their own operations. The client handles inventory management, sales team readiness, product quality, and giving fast approvals. Because think about it, the agency can drive a massive wave of demand right to your front door, but if your sales team doesn't pick up the phone or your product is completely out of stock, the entire system just breaks down.
So what are the key success factors to actually make this ecosystem thrive? It really boils down to a few essential ingredients. First, you need a continuous, uninterrupted budget to let those ad algorithms actually learn. Second, rapid follow-up from your sales team. Speed is quite literally everything here. Third, you've got to have competitive offers out there in the market. Fourth, totally transparent data sharing so the agency can actually see what's closing. And above all else, you need patience for that initial testing phase. Getting these expectations aligned before day 1 is exactly how long-term growth is secured.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question based on everything we've uncovered today. Is your company ready to transition from just posting content to building a real, predictable growth engine? The blueprint is right here. The days of disjointed, unmeasurable marketing are completely over. It is time to build, attract, convert, and retain with absolute precision. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown empowers you to think totally differently about your next stage of growth. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and we'll see you next time.